round, then Democrats are going to win the House.
All right. Symone, now you. Let's talk about this new polling from CNN today. It shows 56% of voters would choose a Democrat over 38% who say they'd choose a Republican. I mean, that 18-point edge is the widest Democrats have held in a midterm election cycle in 20 years, for 20 years. Will that change, as Stephen Moore argues, if people see more money in their paychecks?
You know what? I don't think so, because while, yes, people will see somewhere upwards of $900 to $1,800 more in their paycheck, the wealthiest folks in this country are going to see upwards of more than $75,000. Regular everyday Americans are going to understand that 13 million folks have now been pushed off their health care thanks to this bill. You know, Obamacare is actually very popular right now. So for Donald Trump to stand up and say, we have repealed Obamacare, that is not something that necessarily the wide swath of folks across the country want to hear. Premiums are going to go up by 10%. That's bad. And Republicans are going to have to own this. I think we're seeing that spread in the numbers because Republicans are literally in charge. They have the White House, both chambers of the United States Congress. They have yet to get anything done. And the one thing they got done was tax breaks for the wealthiest folks in this country. That don't scream, elect me again in 2018.
Well, Stephen, let's talk about this. Because I know you want to respond, but one of the selling points of this plan has been putting more money in the pockets of the middle-class Americans with less taxes. But in getting rid of the Obamacare mandate, making Americans pay penalties for not having health insurance, funding for the Children's Health Insurance Program, known as CHIP, which helps poor children and pregnant women, it's now at risk. I mean, dozens of states, the blue ones on our map that you see right there, are now at risk to run out of funding in anywhere from 1 to 3 months. And even if a family is getting a few $100s in a tax break, their health care will potentially cost thousands more. How are low-income families not getting the short end of this?
Well, look, I believe the funding for CHIP will be delivered, and so I don't think that will be an issue that's on the table. But on this Obamacare issue,
why do you think that will be delivered? What guarantee do you have?
I think it's a popular program, and I think ultimately Congress will fund it.
But it ran out. Well, wait, I want to go back to that point because it ran out about 4 months ago, and it has not been funded yet. And so when are they going to fund it? I think the maybes and the ifs sound good to us, but what about these low-income families?
That's right. They're just shifting money from higher states to lower earning states.
Right. My only point is that early next year they're going to resolve the budget. They've been operating on these series of continuing resolutions, and it's my belief that they will fund CHIP. But I think the more important point is what's happening with Obamacare. And, you were saying, well, gee, the premiums are going to go up by 10% because of this. Well, look, they've been going up by 15 or 20% under Obamacare. So that would actually be an improvement if the premiums only went up by 10%. But also, I would say this, that when you talk about the political aspects of what happened today, the most important thing is that now Republicans have solidified their base. Their base voters are coming home in a big time. They're very happy with this bill. They think it's a delivery.
Hold on. What numbers do you have to support that? Because I have seen polling. Tell me the numbers that you have to support that. Because
let me give you some evidence. What happened?
Yes, give me some evidence.
Okay, so after the Republicans failed on Obamacare, big Republican donors and even medium and small donors stopped giving to the Republican Party. They were so upset that the Republicans could not deliver on that. And they basically told the Republicans this: don't come back to us if you don't get this tax bill passed.
So the donors are the base of the Republican Party? I just want to be clear, because what I asked you was what proof did you have that the base of the Republican Party was coming home? And you just gave me a donor example. That is exactly what's wrong with this bill. Why it's not popular. That is exactly what's wrong with this bill. Why it's not popular. And why Republicans are going to lose their seats in 2018.
Because this is very, very popular with Republican voters. It may not be popular with Democratic voters, but a tax cut is very popular with Republican voters.
But that's not what the polling shows. That this is unpopular among Democrats and Republicans. Bob, I mean, isn't that what the polling shows?
Well, I've seen some polls that it is popular with Republicans. The problem is with, of course, Democrats and independents. But I do think that where it goes from here, there are similarities to Obamacare, which was not popular when it passed. It was not popular when it was implemented, and it was popular when it was tried to be repealed, and maybe that'll continue with this bill. But
are you saying that come 2020 or whenever someone else is in office, this will be so popular that people can't repeal it even though they hate it?
I think it's tough to take take away benefits or goodies. I mean, it just is. I mean, that's why Republicans couldn't pass repealing the Affordable Care Act. And I think, and then Democrats also with the Bush tax cuts, they didn't extend all of them, but they extended a lot of them because of political pressure. So,
but Bob, under this bill, 83% of the benefits go to the top 1% of people in this country. So again, I don't understand. I just haven't seen where someone has made the case where Joe, Susie, and I'm going to keep saying it, Pookie and Keisha benefit from this bill. Priorities USA did a survey, did a test in 20 Republican House districts. And when they found out what was in this bill, voters were inclined to move 3 points away from the incumbents. This ain't good for Republicans any way you spin it.
Well,
they can say they got something done, but they can't say it's good for the people.
You made this point, well, rich people are going to get a bigger benefit than middle-income people. What middle-income people care most about is what it's going to do to their own taxes. They don't care, whether the guy next door is going to get a big tax cut if they get one. I mean, the other day I was in a taxi cab, and I asked the taxi cab driver, what do you think of the tax bill? And he said, show me the money. Americans want to see more money in their paycheck in a couple of months. And I think one of the things that has been inaccurate in the reporting is that I've heard many people on CNN say the middle class is going to face a tax increase. That's just flatly false. It's not true that most middle class people have a tax increase. In fact, about 90% of middle class people will see a tax cut. And when they see that tax cut, I think their attitude is going to be, wait a minute, people were lying to me about the reality of what this bill is. And they're going to see that, by the way, starting in about February or March.
I think that you're being too cute by half there, because these taxes are not permanent. So then if you do it over...
Yeah, but those are...
If you do it over time.
I mean, I was involved in putting this. 7 or 8 years from now, those tax cuts are going to go away. But does anybody think we're going to be still operating in the same tax bill, in 2025, 2 presidencies from now? Of course we do.
How long have we had our current tax policy?
We shouldn't. This is a whole other issue. But
Since
we
like
should
the
do tax bills on 4 or 5 year basis, not a 10-year basis, because nobody knows what the world's going to look like.
I'm just saying, history, shows us. Bob,
I just like to note the corporate tax cuts do not expire, but the individual tax cuts do.
Exactly.
So
that was my point.
I think.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think if the Democrats win Congress, are they going to expire the child tax credit?
The Republicans here, I think, should have just adopted what they did in 2001. They had a message, Rick Santorum said on CNN, their message was woeful. Just admit everyone should get a tax cut, but they kept saying middle class, and then that's why they've been attacked and been open to those attacks, honestly.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Just ahead, a leading Democratic